This is equipment for crisis communication or equipping for crisis communications. This is part one, before a crisis occurs. Here's another look at how these pieces all fit together under Poeti. In this workshop, we're going to cover equipping your team or the equipment needed by your team. These are the technology tools needed to perform the crisis communications missions, like sending out press releases, social media posts, etc. The other 4 workshops will cover planning, which includes the priorities before, during, and after an incident, organization of the crisis communications team, training needed for the team, and finally the concept of exercising these planning, organization, equipment, and training components via a stair-stepped approach of increasing capability and complexity. In the design of the communications team overall Poeti, there were equipping objectives and strategic priorities. We believe these are some of the important elements of equipping the team before, during, and after an emergency or disaster. There are undoubtedly other elements as well. If you can think of any that are generic to any organization, please let us know via the class comments section so we can improve this workshop. As from the workshop modules before, the preparedness phase is the longest. It's also the phase you reset to after an incident occurs. Besides the obvious of laptops and smartphones and word processing software, independent internet connection, such as cellular hotspots, for example, now is the time to understand how emergency crisis communication tools may operate differently from normal day-to-day ones. Make sure all the applicable team members have access, their own passwords, sign-ons, etc., to the communication systems your organization uses. Mentor and shadow how messages are delivered to the public now, so alternative staff are ready to back them up in the future. Don't forget from our first workshop on planning, disasters can be categorized into 3 distinct groupings: natural and human-made disasters, product and process disasters, and fictitious disasters. And another reminder, this could be a 24-hour-a-day operation, so you may need backups and other shift coverage, as well as more consumable supplies like ink and toner than you would normally use per day. As we noted in the planning and organizations workshop modules, those 2, you should consider having translators for other languages, including American Sign Language on your team, on call from your staff, or under contract from a third-party vendor. Do not expect or rely on Google Translate to convert your organization's messages into other languages. It will not work, and it will cause you to make colloquial mistakes and other idiomatic errors, which can become another crisis for your organization itself. You should also consider who else within your organization, who is not on your crisis response team, might need equipment for communicating with your team. If you're going to bring your building's engineer staff into your team room, for example, or have an outside consultant who would not have access normally to your file system, etc., it would be helpful to have them have a laptop or cell phone available for them as well. Test how all of this works regularly. Incorporate the new team members to help mentor them, also the subject matter experts and contractors too. It also helps to include your executive in your practice sessions. Show them that your team is ready and gives them a chance to practice being the spokesperson under a simulated stressful crisis scenario. Finally, think about the business continuity aspects. If your crisis communications team needed to set up shop in a hotel conference room, for example, what other equipment would they need? A copier? A fax machine? These are 2 examples of tech items that people usually do not take home with them every night, or can grab on the fly when evacuating an office. If they can't get to the office to work on crisis communications, where can they, and what equipment do they need? Now it's your turn to practice. Please draft the list of equipment needed in total for your crisis communications team, including whether this equipment is something the team normally has for their day-to-day operations, will have to be allocated or assigned to them during the incident, including on turning on extra capability. For example, if they have organization-owned smartphones, but not hotspots enabled, or if the equipment has to be acquired from outside vendors during the activation period for this incident. Use the Barton Do Not blog post section to add your contributions, so that others who take this course can see your examples. Again, this is optional. Review the template we provided in the class project section and use MS Word to update appendix number 3 at the end, which is the team technology and equipment list appendix. Don't add any proprietary information such as real names or cell phone numbers to the version that you posted to the Barton Do Not blog post section. The value here is to show a sample set of equipment you think is needed for the crisis communications team, so that others who take this class can get some great ideas.